Happy New Year to all, if not already, folks. I'm going to be talking about my favorite rock and punk rock albums that I have not yet talked about this year. Sorry, Scal. Why am I doing rock and punk rock? Well, they're kind of just rock in general. There's not much chugginess in these albums like there is in a lot of metal and metalcore albums that I reviewed last week. So without further ado, let's go! Badflower is a band that I forgot after 2021. I did start caring about them last year when they came out with Teacher Has a Gun, and then I listened to a little bit more of what they had to offer with Okay, I'm Sick, and This Is How the World Ends. My favorite Badflower song of all time probably has to be, well, I think my two of my favorite Badflower songs of all time have to be Girlfriend and Stalker. Neat little two-piece combination. But anyways, No Place Like Home. This one came out back in June, I think. It's got the singles London, Ghost, I think it's called Haunting You, actually. And then Detroit. The lyrics are pretty good, but they can be corny as well. Badflower does a good job of being socially conscious, even if overtly left-leaning. But they do talk about some real stuff, like in the title track, which is the introductory. It's heavy, and there's some clever interlacing. There's some clever lacing of Wizard of Oz references with their making fun of nationalist views. The romance stuff is alright, per usual. Stuff is pretty masochistic and also heavy. I like the fact that they tried to get a sample in, but had to do like a vintage female voice to like kind of explain that they had legal issues trying to get that sample in. And Story of Our Lives is a good rock tune with very overt TV film footage metaphors for this girl cheated on me. And then London has some vintage 50s pop stuff going on and a love song about moving to London. Josh Katz excels when he's doing his sad stuff. He's got the voice for it, especially with songs like What's the Point and Butterfly and Pause. The instrumental's kind of filler for Pause, but Butterfly and What's the Point are most interesting. I think Butterfly is the most interesting because it's got a lot of acoustic stuff and bells. And it's about like fan expectations. It's like they expect him to be this great big thing when he can't like always measure. He can't measure up to what they want. He can't measure up to everything they want from him. And then What's the Point is just something I relate to with not talking to my friends, I think. And some of my other favorite songs are Swinging Hammer for its pure punk rockness. Haunting You has a cool instrumental. Number One has some Queen-like guitar harmonies and a lot of stuff. It might just fill space, but it's a good filler song. And then Detroit is a fun single that kind of sounds like it would belong anywhere on A Day to Remember's Homesick or You're Welcome. I could see myself bouncing around to it or like hopping around to it with a bass guitar or regular guitar in hand. Badflower, No Place Like Home. Some albums like this, but only one Badflower. Super Sometimes used to be called New Aesthetic, but now they're called Super Sometimes, and that's about as creative as they can get, because there's already a New Aesthetic. They released an album called From Then and Now, which is a little bit generic with dry sounding production and mixing, but there's not much you can get from a pop punk band like Super Sometimes when there's already Blink-182 and Green Day kind of counts, and Sum 41. That aside, I still find myself singing along some of the generic stuff, like Complacent and, well, Complacent. Three of the songs on the album sound the same. Say Something Now, Screaming Out, and Losing This Game. Ironically enough, the latter two were released under the name New Aesthetic. But Say Something Now is one of my favorite songs from off that album. All Systems Go is like another one. I mean, it's a Boxcar Racer cover, but it's like early in the album. Blasphemous. I don't know what they were thinking. You do a cover at the end of the album, or like as a bonus track. And then Spork is obviously a peak. I must have talked about this when they were New Aesthetic. Obviously, they released this one day. They were still New Aesthetic. I probably talked about them like a year ago. I think I talked about them, not Eddie. And then Change is like fun, even if it's softer. It kind of sounds like something that'd be released by State Champs or The Story So Far, but they wanted to be signed on Pure Noise Records for the longest time, so I don't blame them. And then June is a little bit of Simple Plans, I'd Do Anything, a little bit of Paramore's Misery Business, and a little bit of Silverstein's Everything before Rise Records. Probably in between Rescue and This Is How the Wind Shifts. So most likely their Hopeless Records era. But Super Sometimes would totally be bigger if they were around in the early 2000s and signed to Vagrant Records or Drive Thru Records or even Hopeless Records for some reason. So I guess the 2000s in general. From Then and Now is a decent addition to pop punk in 2025. And I want to look at a lot more good pop punk this year. Or I guess at what time this video gets released. Spiritual Cramp is a punk rock band from San Francisco. They recently released their second studio album, Rude, back in October. And it's real vintage. They really aim to sound like The Clash and the Ramones and probably every other punk rock band from the 70s that people cared about. Their music videos are fun. Got the lead singer walking around San Francisco and At My Funeral, and then You've Got My Numbers about how, him like missing his girlfriend while he's out on the road. The band can go from straight up punk rock to post punk. My favorite punk rock songs from the album are I'm an Anarchist and Go Back Home and I Hate the Way I Look. The guitars on the album, punk rock songs, sound a little bit like Green Day, but Green Day were trying to sound like classic punk rock bands from the 70s like before, so it's nothing new. I Hate the Way I Look is pretty relatable on a side note. And then their post-punk ones are pretty good. Automatic is straight up London Calling Part 2, while Violence in the Supermarket is a tropical one. They've got some good filler tracks like True Love is Hard to Find and Crazy, which I like the latter more than True Love. I guess that's because it's faster and the chorus is cooler. You've got some weird ones like New Religion with its acoustic guitar and whistles and People Don't Change, what kind of sounds like a Neon Trees song in the chorus with its synthesizers. I think my one complaint is how loud the bass and the drums sound. Like, they really sound pushed to the forefront. It's kind of a problem with, like, bands that sound like totally punk rock, but the rhythm section sounds way too fat and, like, I guess compressed or, like, a bit fat. It's, like, so fat that you could, like, almost put it, like, the songs in, like, an Apple commercial. But I bet you one thing, their live sound would not disappoint. I need to listen to more spiritual Cramp. Die Spitz, German for the Sharp, is a rock band from Texas that released their 2025 album, Something to Consume. It's got 11 tracks with airy production by Will Yip. He's worked with bands like Touche Amore. It's very messy AF, but that's because they are a very punk rock band in essence. They like to sound like Black Sabbath and Nirvana as well, but they are like just very punk rock in essence. You hear it in songs like Sorry for the Delay and Red 40, which are two of my favorite songs, and American Porn, which is very socially conscious in like the porn industry. Looking at You, Evan Seinfeld. That song is like also like lazy in a very good way, and then Sound No One is an interesting one because it goes from like Ocean at Night to just pure metal riffs. And then Riding with My Girls is another punk rock song with a music video where the girls do makeup on a biker guy. And one of my absolute favorites on this record is Throw Yourself to the Sword. It's the first Die Spitz song I ever listened to, and it is super metal and heavy, and it's a very low tuning, C standard actually. I am going to look at the rest of their discographies. I already have, starting with I Hate When Girls Die, and I am going to listen to the rest of Teeth in full and look at many of their live videos. Fleshwater is a band that a friend of mine in high school recommended I check out. They're basically Vane.fm part 2 now, because Vane.fm went on hiatus because Fleshwater got big, so they're doing Fleshwater without Matt Wood, who stepped away from both those bands. In 2025, they released 2000 In Search of the Endless Sky. It is very 2000s and late 90s and 90s in essence. Their music videos sound like something that Pavement would have done for some reason. We've got a lot of focus on mercy as well. Oh, God, it's like singing higher in like songs like Jetpack and Last Escape. Last Escape is my favorite of the two singles because it goes into like 90s mall culture. It's like something that I never witnessed despite going to the mall a lot. And I hate what the mall's clothing stores have to offer. Especially Spencer's and Hot Topic. It's got a happier sound than We're Not Here to Be Loved. Probably because they tuned to drop C. Funny thing, because Vane, up to like This World is Going to Ruin You, they were like tuned to drop C, and then with This World is Going to Ruin You, they tuned lower. Some other favorites of mine from the record are the first two songs. Drowning Song sounds like more of a swimming song. And then Green Street has a cool main riff and some screaming by Anthony Didio. There's more her focus on him in Jerome Town. It's got a lot of heavy riffs, and it sounds the most like a Vein.fm song when the screaming comes in with Mersey coming in screaming beforehand, obviously. And then her singing over a lot of heavy riffs in Raging Storm is just goodness. And Endless Sky, while a bit generic starting off, it has a really good chorus and closer with Mercy singing off. Record, it sounds like you're like laying down in the grass looking at the sky, or you're like laying down somewhere in a car, like riding on a highway, like with mountains on the way to Nevada. This band I should have paid more attention to. Like, even after listening to a lot of songs from their first studio album, I should have looked at more of their live shows, but I was looking into a lot more heavier metalcore bands, and, well, I took it home. Seriously, though, I will keep an eye on Fleshwater. Who Will Look After the Dogs by Pup is an album by PUPtheband that I only checked out after their pseudo title track earlier this year called Hallways. I wanted to listen to more Pup for the longest time this year, but I haven't done that. I mean, the only Pup I've ever listened to was that one song, and the entirety of The Dream Is Dead. But Who Will Look After the Dogs is classic PUPtheband, but with more synthesizer work by Stephen Babcock. Some of my favorite songs on there are Paranoid for how loud and dramatic of an opener it is, and then Hallways because title tracks always go hard, and Hallways is a title track and lyrics. And then Get Dumber is a cool angry duet between Stefan and Jeff Rosenstock, the one guy from Bomb to Music Industry. Olive Garden is one of those songs with somewhat relatable lyrics and a fun instrumental that aligns with it. No Hope I like for like how short it is, and Hunger for Death is a fun little edgy doo-wop song. And then Falling Out of Love's alright. And then Cool sounds like something that would be in like a 90s sitcom. And there's a lot going on in Best Revenge, like synthesizers and stuff. And then Shut Up also has a lot going on, like a catchy main riff and a solo guitar section before it slowly builds up to the whole band at the end. Who Will Look After the Dogs is more classic songs by Pup with more experimentation by Stephen Babcock and the rest of the members, but mostly Stephen Babcock because he's the one writing the lyrics about mental health and relationships and friends and stuff. It's good stuff.